Good evening and welcome to Hello, It's Us. Hello, It's Us is dedicated to educating the general public about issues that are important to people with disabilities. And we know that as you watch the show, you'll recognize that those same issues are important to the community at large. Hello, It's Us is brought to you through a collaboration between the University of Iowa Center for Disabilities and Development, our good friends at Uptown Bill's Coffee Shop, and our other good friends at Public Access TV. And we're excited tonight to be broadcasting from Uptown Bill's. My name is Mike Hoenig, and I work for the Center for Disabilities and Development.
And my name is Keith Ruff. I'm a public advocate for disability in the community. And thank you for coming tonight.
We're really excited. We have a group of special guests here in studio tonight, and we're talking about a subject that I think we all like, and that is food and good customer service. Both Keith and I, as people with disabilities, recognize the importance of getting good customer service everywhere we go, and it's especially nice to be welcomed along with the rest of the community in restaurants. And so we came up with the idea to do this show to talk about why it's important and how we are well served by our guests. So Keith, do you want to share your perspective on?
Just sitting where I usually go for coffee, I've been watching this there at the bread market. I've always wondered if they were trained or if it comes natural. So I got the idea, toasted Mike, and he and I kicked it around and came up with this. So,
great.
Welcome.
And we're going to find out the answer to that question and then many more here shortly. But what we would like to do now is to introduce our guests. And we're going to just start right over here with Beth. If you want to tell us your name and where you work, and we'll proceed around and introduce everyone.
I'm Beth Fielder. I'm the Associate Director for Food Nutrition Services at the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics.
I'm Frankie Schneckloff. I'm the Marketing and Creative Director at Bread Garden Market.
And I'm Sarah King. I am a manager at Bread Garden Market.
Welcome, I'm Tom Gilson, and you are here at Uptown Bill's, where I'm the manager. Delighted to have you with us.
I'm Jeffrey Palermo. I'm with the School of Social Work, and I supervise Wild Bill's Coffee Shop.
Great. One of the premises that the points that we wanted to make in doing this program is, as Keith and I have discovered, when we're treated well, we obviously are going to come back to that particular place when we're comfortable. But we also believe that there are a number of added benefits, and one of them is that as restaurant staff treat us well and show just exactly how comfortable they are working with us, not only meeting our food needs, which of course is important, but treating us and just being friendly and talking with us like everyone else. Other people that are in the restaurant or in the place of business, coffee house, are going to get the message that, gosh, these people aren't scary. They're just like everybody else. And so I think, we really both believe that really models behavior that other people can follow. And, I can provide a number of examples of just when that has happened, for instance, in the cafeteria, that people have really jumped in and offered to assist even when restaurant staff are there to do that.
And I can add that it's not only the managers, it's the people that serve and make the coffee. Whether they realize it or not, they're in a learning process to communicate directly with me instead of asking somebody else what does he want.
Okay, well, let's just start out, and what we'll do is just, we have some topics here. We want to keep this informal, and I think with a panel this size, we'll be able to do that. But we'll start off with a question, and maybe just so we keep it fair, and we started with Beth the first time, so this time we'll go and start with Jeffrey, and we'll work back, I guess. And what we'd like to have you do is just to share some ways that you can think of in which you really are maybe taking that extra step. And knowing some of you, I know that you may not think it's a big deal because you would do that for anybody, but if you can think of some ways in which you create an environment which is friendly to people with disabilities. We'll start with Jeffrey.
Okay. Well, Wild Bill's Coffee Shop has been on campus in the School of Social Work in North Hall for 40 years. And it was started by Tom Walls, and the first employee was Bill Sachter. In the present, when I came to work there about 7.5 years ago, the coffee shop hadn't really been touched in a really, really long time in terms of remodeling. So we undertook a year-long renovation so that the space was more accessible, particularly to people who needed an assisted device or a wheelchair. So it was actually designed around people with disabilities. So the kitchen was designed and put in, the dishwasher, the sink, everything is accessible. The aisles, the way the tables are set, everything is designed to make it accessible and comfortable for people with disabilities. All of our employees, all 12 of them, have a disability of some kind or another. So we're very focused on that issue, and we're very alert. We have 30-something volunteers, and they all receive training in how to serve and be respectful and considerate and what things to pay attention to. And our employees help us by telling us what it is they want and need. So our entire focus pretty much is on making it an inclusive environment so that students and faculty and community members with or without disabilities can feel comfortable coming in and out and buying coffee and some snacks.
Terrific. Well, that's a model for sure. Tom, are you
I am
ready
here.
to chime in?
Yes. Ditto with what Jeffrey said, although we haven't done as much remodeling in the coffee shop itself. We actually participated with projects elsewhere. One of our favorite was with our friend Ed Gaines, a longtime volunteer.
Yeah.
We participated in a project which created a house for him with elements called universal design, which basically means abilities awareness everywhere. My favorite was the sink, which goes up and down. And I've always wanted to sit down doing the dishes. And this was designed for Ed, who uses a wheelchair. But I found that when I went over, I could sit down and do the dishes too. And it was a great innovation. The other one small thing here, we struggled a lot with credit card and debit card, both for our staff and also for our customers. So what we finally ended up doing after testing a lot of things over several years was taking an iPad, putting it sideways so the numbers were bigger, and using something called Square. And the iPad is on a little stand. So when Keith comes in and wants to use his debit card, we can just walk over to him. It uses wireless internet. And I recall thinking that a number of the credit card machines that I'd used in the past were like doing brain surgery. But this has big numbers, and it's a totally portable thing, so I can walk up, or anyone can walk up and give it. I guess those are a couple of examples from our place.
Those are great examples, and I love the example about the working in the helping somebody in the community, and I mean that's all about developing relationships too. I might add, and Keith, if you just jump in anytime here, but I might add, that something maybe, Tom, that you wouldn't even think of as an accommodation. When I come here, you know, I especially the first time I came, you know, I didn't know what you served, and you know, you took the time from whatever it was you were doing to come over, walk through the menu with me. You know, we've got this soda, we've got that. This is our you know, and it was really great because I thought, you know, this is one place I can go where I don't have to educate somebody about the menu because you just did it, and that felt really good and prompted me to want to come back.
Oh, thank you.
We would like to know why your services are so educated. Did you do any training at all? Because they seem very attuned to disability needs.
And just in terms of anything that you do special, you know, that you've done to accommodate people as they come in.
So I think it's just word of mouth that we kind of train, but not exactly. People just know what Keith needs, and I especially, like, I walk around the store and I see when Keith comes in every day, usually around 10, and so I'll put a napkin out and move a chair over here, and sometimes if I'm busy, I'll just have a cashier help me out, but a lot of times the coffee bar already helps out Keith before I even get to him, so they're very accommodating, so yeah, we just kind of word of mouth, and that's how we get what we need.
Randy, would you like to add something?
I guess I would just build on what Sarah said, and I mean, we don't do any specific training, but I think we employ a lot of really great people who just have good hearts and want to just treat everybody with respect and you know, make everybody feel really welcome. It's always kind of been our mission at the Bread Garden to be a space for all community members to come eat lunch, have coffee, to meet other people, and so it's always important to us that everyone feels included and welcome, and I think it just really speaks to the type of people that we hire, that they don't, it's kind of hands off, like they don't need a lot of training, they just want to help. So.
That's great. And I've not been nearly as frequent as Keith. I live out of town, but I've just he's sort of talked me into starting to come in recently, and I've been very impressed with just, you know, people say, well, do you need help with the food line, or do you need to know what's there, and you know, do you need help to a table? And you know, it's very then matter of factly, there's not a, you know, a big deal made of it, and that's really nice.
And what I noticed when they asked Mike, they didn't need to be coached.
Yeah.
They just asked.
Yeah, they just asked. Yeah, I think that's important to note.
Okay, Beth. Yeah.
Yeah, the hospital is unique in that we kind of make people work for their food. You have to go to station. It's set up differently than a restaurant.
Yeah.
So there could be a lot of things that could happen, or people that need help with along the way gathering items. So our things are just really simple, just keeping our eyes open, noticing if someone needs a tray to be held, or help pushing a wheelchair, or even a stroller. I mean, we have a lot of people that have long-term disabilities, but also short-term, where they're just here in a wheelchair for a week, and they don't even know that they might need help, and so we can kind of assist with that.
And as more and more disabled people come, quote, out of the closet, there's going to be a greater need for that kind of assistance.
I noticed that one thing at UIHC, and Jeffrey, you mentioned it with Wild Bill's, so and I'm not sure about the bread market and Uptown Bill's exactly how this works, but I noticed that at UIHC that you've made a concerted effort. You have some tables of different heights. So is that, I don't know how long ago that was put into place, or what was the impetus for that, and feel free, any of you, if you want to jump in, just to talk about some of the kind of the structural, you know, what it is, whether it's heightened tables or paths, you know, to get from point A to point B, things that you've done consciously, or maybe even not necessarily consciously, that you've discovered make it easier for people with disabilities just to navigate.
I feel like our customers with disabilities do teach us kind of some of those things and kind of learn along the way. And especially, we just remodeled the cafeterias, and the tables were all different sizes, and people didn't understand that. Why aren't they all tall? Why aren't they all this way? And you kind of have to educate people, well, that there's people in wheelchairs, there's people with little kids, there's a lot of different things you need to know. And I feel like we always are educating other people, our outside vendors, why you can't put a rack of beverages here, or that we need to allow space in this area. You know, they want to sell things, they want to put things different places, and you have to be mindful that the traffic and the amount of people that come through and that need that space. So we kind of are very mindful, and then I feel like we educate other people too of why we do those sort of things.
Do a great job of it too.
Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Would you continue something?
Sure. I would argue that we also probably kind of learn as we go. There's a lot of things, you know, vendors and racks and all sorts of things that pop up in the store.
Yeah.
I mean, overnight. So we, you know, we just kind of learn as we go, move things around and accommodate as we need to. But Sarah, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so we have a lot of, like she said, like a lot of vendors coming in. So I try to make sure cashiers, if they have just like bread racks, they move those over so at least a cart can get through, or a wheelchair. Just so there's a good flow through the store. We do have a lot of other disabled people, and even like she said before, Beth, about people with strollers, even holding the door for them. Or there's a guy that comes in a couple times a week for chicken, like he's in a wheelchair. I help him with the doors, and so yeah, we just try to help people where we can.
Great.
We have, in the School of Social Work, we have students who use wheelchairs and, or experience blindness or diminished vision. So we always try to leave a path, a clear, wide path to the cooler, to the tables. We move chairs so that person can roll right up to the table. And, you know, we're tucked away in North Hall, and so the only access really is on the third floor. So, you know, we make sure that everybody knows who needs to, how to get into the building, because it's, you know, unless you know which door to go to, you're not going to be able to get to the third floor without, you know, coming in the main entranceway. There's an elevator, but if you're in a chair, there's no way to get to the building from the back or the side, so you have to come in the third floor. So I'm kind of monitoring that all the time. They have the buttons that open the doors, so you know the university does a pretty good job of making their buildings accessible, but you know, people forget sometimes. Able-bodied people forget and move things around. We have so many people coming and going in bills that, you know, you have to kind of keep an eye on it.
That's an important point, and I learn a lot from doing these shows, and I hadn't thought about because, you know, as somebody that's experienced blindness since birth, I've always known that when I want to go somewhere and I want to go there on my own, I have to ask some really specific directions, and I didn't think about some of the issues that a person in a chair might have. If they didn't know exactly how to access it, they might think that they couldn't get in. So that's a really, really important piece in terms of advertising even, and, you know, how anyone else
Well, the two things that we do here generally, one is the tables of different heights. And we don't have them all set up all the time, but we have tables of several different heights, including ones for individuals who are unable to sit down, who can stand but not sit, which could be a short-term or a long-term thing. And the second is, anyone who's been around here has heard me say, we need a path the width of a wheelchair to the front door. That's a regular mantra. We used to say, what the fire department says, but people didn't get that. But we say the width of a wheelchair people understand that. It makes sense to them. So when we have concerts or shows or other events with a large number of people here. Actually, one of our volunteers who uses a wheelchair, who's often here on Thursday nights, kind of takes it upon himself to roll around. And if somebody's in the way, he'll just kind of roll right up to them. Oh, excuse me. It's not the width of a wheelchair here, I guess. And that usually takes care of it. But occasionally we'll have someone who just doesn't quite get it. But most of the time that's enough for individuals to understand.
Well, I'm sure Mike and I are very hopeful that many of the restaurants catch on as you people have. I've been in some restaurants where accessibility is there, but I don't feel comfortable.
You know, I think I wanted to go back to a point that that Tom made a little while ago, when you talked about helping Ed with a habitat house. And I have to say, that developing relationships with patrons is such an important piece. And I don't know about you, Keith. Well, I think I do know, but I don't want to speak for you. I believe that developing those relationships, however that happens, really is a big deal. And you hear the story if you come in on a bus or whatever. You hear people talk, oh, I'm my favorite barista or this or that. And I think that I haven't heard as many people as I would hope to hear people with disabilities talking that same language about developing relationships with between the servers or the managers or whomever and their customers. And as an example, I'm a very satisfied, happy patron of the cafeteria. I typically go to the fountain dining room at UIHC because it's close to where I work. And I really enjoy the fact that I can go, when I go to the cashier, everybody has a word. It's a different word. Sometimes it's, what's going to happen this weekend, or one of the cashiers and I share an interest in playing 500, and so one time she came and surprised me with a whole book of 500 scorecards so we could play, and just those really neat things, that make it not only a good experience for food, but just make you want to come back. And I don't know if maybe I'll start with Beth this time and work down. If you'd like to just share, your thoughts about that, about the importance of developing those relationships and how maybe that's happened in your area, your many areas of food service, and then we'll just go down the line.
Yeah, I think it's important for our staff to have that too. It's a satisfier to be in a job where you enjoy it and you enjoy meeting the people and creating those relationships. So I think we hire great people too, kind of like Frankie said, that they have kind hearts, and they're from a lot of different backgrounds too. A lot of them were nurses before, or went into fields that had caring as one of the primary backgrounds. They were teachers. We have a lot of different people from different countries that were a different occupation before they came here. But they use that, I think, in a way that they build those relationships and kind of know how. And then for the people that maybe don't, I think they just learn from each other. And people like you that make them feel comfortable to help and offer that assistance too. I think that's important, that you can joke around about things and you don't make them feel nervous helping you, and I think that's helped them, and they see that, and you're kind of educating people when you visit us.
Well, they do a terrific job. So.
I like to interject one thing. I don't think it's all the responsibility of the people at the courtyard. I think it's up to me to explain exactly what I need when I need it. so it doesn't become a burden.
I would, I guess there's a couple of cashiers that work at the bread garden that are just really sweet, and I think they've sat down and had lunch with you,
Yeah.
like taken their breaks, and so it's just really clear to me that it's not that you are ever a burden or that we don't want to accommodate you. I think it's really clear that the relationship goes both ways, and that we're glad to see you every day, and people consider you a friend, and I think that's important to note.
And they're learning a lot,
Yeah, they're learning.
whether they know it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, it's true.
So I go along with what Frankie said. I especially talk to Keith, and I like to talk to him. He's known me since I was pregnant, so I talk to my daughter, and he talks about what books he's reading, and for the most part, it's been a nice winter, so he comes in all the time. It's nice to see him every day. So
When I'm talking with new staff or volunteers, I say that what we're creating is like a short-term friendship. And each time a person comes in, there's a little element of that friendship. And you're building that relationship. And sometimes you only see a person once, and that's it. And sometimes you see them over and over. But in each case, there's the opportunity to make a connection and build a relationship. And you want the person to leave happy.
That's great.
Some of our employees at Bill's have been there for 20 years, and they consider it, their place. They go to work there, and they're very attached. And our students know that when they go into Bill's, they are given an opportunity to create a relationship with the person who's working behind the counter. It's a learning lab. That's what we call it, a learning lab for our social work students, so that they have an opportunity to interact with people who are different from themselves, and in a way that's relaxed and comfortable, and everybody has something to offer, and everybody participates.
And that's what makes a restaurant or a coffee house great. We're getting close to the time. I can't believe it. This has been a lot of fun. I think maybe what I'd like to ask our last question, and that is just a very simple, if you could give other restaurant owners, not that we want to take any business away from you, but we know that there are many, many places to go here in Iowa City and surrounding areas, a piece of advice about serving patrons with disabilities, what might that be?
Just be open to helping people and treating everyone with respect, and I don't know, it's a relationship that you'll build that you won't regret, because like you said, if you can help them and they can help you, and you will always have that friend every time they come in, and hopefully keep coming back.
Great, thank you.
I would just suggest that it's a learning experience, and so you have to put yourself out there, but you're going to learn a lot and hopefully take something away from it. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion, my advice.
Thank you.
yes, I would say that asking questions, see what they need. In our case, we knew about Keith beforehand, so they told us what over at the Wedge that he liked, and we did that for him. So just asking questions, be really accommodating, and understand that it's not at all inconvenient. It's actually a pleasure. So.
And he's not scary.
I would say just relax, because someone is using a wheelchair or some other assistive device. It's still a person, and kind of focus on the person and let them focus on you.
My last advice to anyone in the field is to remember there's a real person behind that disfigurement or the wheelchair. And if you focus on the real person, the disability will disappear.
Excellent. Well, with that, we want to thank all of you very much for coming and sharing your experiences with us and sharing your food and beverage with us on a regular basis. And thank all of you for tuning in. Good night.
Have a good week out there.